responsibility. The milkman, the paperboy, evening TV. Did I get delivered here? Somebody tell me, please. This whole world confusing me.
Hello, and welcome to a brand new episode of the podcast entitled Couch Potatoes Unite! Exclamation point. This is a podcast based on a blog of the same name because everywhere you look, it's Couch Potatoes Unite, am I right? I'm the blogger in question and the self-styled chief couch potato. My name is Kylie and I love TV. If you feel the same, keep listening and or checking out the blog at couchpotatoesunite.wordpress.com as you're bound to find some common ground or something you like. For at Couch Potatoes Unite, we're all about the wonders and the unique long-form storytelling of the small screen. CPU hopes you've been following releases of brand new episodes of the podcast on Wednesdays, as well as new blog entries on some Tuesdays, and as always, we have several more new episodes on the way. Because the panelists and I live lives behind our podcast, the episodes are published once per week. Subscribe to the blog or the podcast via iTunes, Stitcher Radio, and via Google Play to stay on top of brand new episodes. Episodes already published discuss a variety of shows, including, but not limited to, Doctor Who, Downton Abbey, How to Get Away with Murder, Broadchurch, Once Upon a Time, New Girl, The Vampire Diaries, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Gotham, Supernatural, Game of Thrones, Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, American Horror Story, and The X-Files from its inception through its revival. We've taken a look back at True Blood, Ally McBeal, Futurama, Desperate Housewives, and 6 Feet Under, and more episodes are in the works, including new panels covering the 100, Grimm, and Stranger Things, a new entry in our Marvel's Defender series, which will be covering Luke Cage, and new episodes looking back at older shows will include That 70s Show, Gallivant, and Glee. What's more, CPU from time to time goes live. We've appeared at Comedy Outlet Mondays at Dog Story Theater and at Grand Rapids Comic-Con in Grand Rapids, Michigan, while streaming live on Facebook. More live appearances are being planned, so make sure you like us at our Facebook page, our Twitter, follow us at CPU Podcast, our Instagram at Couch Potatoes Unite, and or our Pinterest at CPU Podcast, or subscribe to the blog, our YouTube channel, our iTunes channel, our Stitcher Radio channel, or find us on Google Play. In the meantime, if you don't hear your show in this podcast format, fellow panelists and I still write reviews, and we're always seeking new panelists, so if you have any interest in joining the discussion, say hello by finding us at any one of our outlets aforementioned. At the very least, stop by and leave us a thumbs up, comment, or review. We like feedback. Just keep it clean, people. Keep it clean like Danny Tanner would expect. Today's panelists are starting a new series focusing on a friendly family who for generations has lived in a full, and now a fuller house, first on ABC and then on Netflix in a revival series event. As much as I love TV, however, there's so much good TV out there I can't watch it all, nor do I necessarily want to, so from time to time, some familiar voices are going to take the moderating reins to discuss shows about which you might want to hear, but that I'm not necessarily going to be moderating. So today, frequent panelist Kristen takes the mic once again. You might have heard Kristen's voice on at least 3/4 of our active panels. In fact, there's too many to list, so just check out our website and look for the list of all CPU panelists in the page brought up under the left dialog box floating in the header, the picture of the TV watcher. She's also moderated before and is more than equipped to moderate again. In fact, she'll be moderating this whole series, which starts with a look back at Full House, followed by ongoing coverage of Fuller House. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome back Kristen to the moderating microphone. Take it away, Kristen!
Thanks, Kylie. As she said, I am a very familiar voice on CPU, and I am happy to be back moderating for my second podcast with my first series. And I'm very excited because today we are taking a look back at one of my personal childhood favorites, Full House, a coming-of-age sitcom that originally aired on ABC from September 22nd, 1987 to May 23rd, 1995. While it won no major awards or accolades during its 8-season run, Full House was consistently ranked among Nielsen's top 30, even making it into the top 10 during seasons 5 and 6, and was the flagship program of ABC's newly launched TGIF block in the fall of 1989. After his wife is killed in a car accident, San Francisco sportscaster Danny Tanner, played by Bob Saget, recruits his brother-in-law Jesse, played by John Stamos, and best friend Joey, played by Dave Coulier, to help raise his 3 young daughters, DJ, Stephanie, and Michelle. played by Candace Cameron Bure, Jodie Sweetin, and Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen. In season 2, Danny becomes a co-host of a local morning show, Wake Up San Francisco, and is teamed up with Becky Donaldson, played by Lori Loughlin. Over the next few seasons, Jesse and Becky fall in love, get married, and have twin boys, Nikki and Alex, played by Blake and Dylan Tommy Wilhout. We are also introduced to DJ's best friend, Kimmy Gibbler, played by Andrea Barber, and her first love, Steve Hale, played by Scott Winger. For this latest installment of CPU's Looking Back series, I've gathered a group of Full House fanatics who are ready to reminisce about this heartwarming, family-friendly comedy, including 3 familiar voices and 2 brand new CPU panelists. As always, it should be noted that all the panelists have viewed Full House in its entirety and may discuss sensitive plot points. So, for those listeners who haven't watched Full House, is there anyone who hasn't watched Full House? Listen at your own risk, as there may be major spoilers. Hola, Tanner-inos!
Hello.
That was my best and failed attempt at the Kimmy Gibbler impression. So, welcome to Full House today. And at this time, I would like the panel to introduce themselves. The returning panelists know the drill, but here's a quick reminder for everybody. First, you'll be asked to identify yourself by first name and how you came to watch Full House, such as how did you find out about it, what made you start watching, what kept you watching, and did you watch it as it aired, or did you discover it in syndication, since it has never been off the air since it premiered all the way back in '87. Then I'll need you to rate your interest in the show. And since this is a Looking Back podcast, I want you to rate your interest both when you started watching the show and when you stopped watching the show, because your opinion may have changed over time. So, did you watch Full House because it was good, clean family fun and you're a lean, mean cleaning machine when you're not hugging it out like Danny? Did you watch it because it made you look good and you're all about looking good and expressing your love of the king, Elvis Presley? Like when you're touring Japan or singing at the Smash Club, like Jesse? Cut it out! The jokes, the impressions, and Mr. Woodchuck were the highlight for you. Or maybe you just wanted to have your own show someday, like Joey. Did the show make you feel loved, and the heartfelt moments that were often accompanied by violins were your favorite parts, like Becky? Did you appreciate the life lessons and advice on growing up, and maybe it helped you have a closer relationship with your siblings, like DJ? Sometimes Full House may have been overshadowed by bigger and better things, but it had its moments, kind of like Stephanie. It was cute, adorable, and gave you a good start with your taste in TV shows. Like Michelle, you wanted to be one of the Tanners. You still want to be one of the Tanners. You loved everything about the show, and you still wouldn't miss it for anything. Like Kimmy, you don't really have an opinion because you were too young to really get into it, like Nikki and Alex. Or you're just participating in the podcast today to raid the fridge, like Steve. So, who wants to start?
My name is Amie, and I'm a returning panelist. I am a child of the 80s, so of course I watched the show when it aired each week. And I watched it because it was a sitcom on TV, and it wasn't like I was waiting for it or anything but to come out or anything like that. But I loved it. I watched it every Friday or whenever it aired before TGIF. And I've watched every episode of Full House, but it's been a while. And then where I fall in terms of ranking, I would probably say my answer growing up would be probably more like Michelle. It was cute, adorable, and gave me a good start with TV shows. And probably like DJ as well, just because I grew up watching Full House, so therefore I identified a lot with it at that time.
Welcome back, Amie.
Thanks.
I'm Allie. I probably started it. I mean, I clearly didn't watch it when it was on because I was born in 1999. But it was a childhood show, and my mom had watched it and she enjoyed it, so she kind of showed it to me. And then because I was young and I was like, okay, this is funny, and there were jokes here and there, and it was family friendly. So I just got into it, and when I started, I mean, in regards to it actually being on TV, I was probably the twins because I was too young, but then I probably progressed a little bit into Michelle because it was like my start to TV, and it got me interested in that sort of thing, so.
Great. Welcome back, Allie.
Thank you.
I'm Leslie. I'm a brand new panelist here, so hi everybody. Thanks for having me. I would say I was born in 1983, so I was very young when the show started, but as I got older, I got into the show It was something my family and I watched every Friday night. It was like appointment television. Pop the popcorn, sit in front of the TV, watch the whole lineup. We had to do it every week. It was just what we did. I loved the show. I watched it while, like I said, while it aired, and it was appointment television for us. We had to watch it every week. We wanted to know what would happen that week, and it just gave you a warm feeling. Like, you knew there was going to be a problem, but it was going to get resolved by the end of the show, and you knew everything was going to turn out and be okay, and it would more than likely have a happy ending. And recently, I've rediscovered it in reruns. I will, if I'm flipping through Nickelodeon or something on channel surfing, if it's on, I stop and I watch it. And I would say my interest back then was probably, I wanted to be one of the Tanners, like Kenny, like I was obsessed with the show. And now probably the same, especially now that the revival is out and everything, and I'm really excited to be here and talk about it because it was one of the highlights of my childhood, was being able to sit down with my family and watch it and spend that time together. So
Great. Well, welcome, Leslie.
Hey guys, I'm Andrew. I couldn't tell you when I started watching it because I feel like I watched it from the beginning, but I'm the same age as the Olsen twins, so I was too young to watch it from the beginning. I would say I started as Michelle. It was cute, adorable. It was probably one of the first TV shows I watched. And then it probably went a little more to Stephanie because it did get overshadowed by the better stuff on TGIF, like Boy Meets World. So I want to say I probably started watching it live during TGIF, but I probably had seen like the first 2 or 3 seasons before it changed. Probably when it just started syndication, I assume, because I don't think I was watching TV when I was 3, 2, 1. So yeah, that's where I'm at, right? I do remember, I want to say, really starting to remembering watching it live when Stephanie started middle school. Like, those are the episodes I remember, like, in my brain watching on Friday nights. And when we would do the shows at Grand Rapids Civic Theater, Jenny Fisher would have her little TV, and we would watch TGIF every Friday night in the game room. So, that's one of my first memories of Full House. Yes.
Awesome, thanks. Welcome back, Andrew. Last but not least.
Hi, my name is Jenn. I am a new panelist. I kind of like what Andrew mentioned with him being around the same age as Michelle. I am actually the same age as Nikki and Alex. So when I started watching Full House, it was probably around season 7 or 8, at least that I can remember, and that I can remember it because I specifically remember watching it because of the TGIF block, and that was one of my favorite ways to watch TV, especially during that time too, because I remember there was that show, and if I remember correctly, I think Home Improvement was on the TGIF block as well. Several years after that, it feels like my parents finally got cable after me lovingly nagging them, and Full House was always on syndication with Nickelodeon or what was previously ABC Family, and I would watch that when I was in middle school, and so I caught up through that way. And for my interest level, I would say probably starting off like Nikki and Alex. I didn't really have much of an opinion. I just recognized it on TV. And then when we first got cable, I was like, oh, hey, I kind of remember this show. And I started watching it when it was in syndication. And then it turned into like Michelle Tanner, where it was cute and adorable, and it gave me a start into watching other television shows as well.
Welcome. Great. Thanks, Jenn. All right, and as I said before, I'm Kristen. Like Andrew, I'm also the same age as the Olsen twins, so I feel like I've been watching it forever, but obviously I can't watch TV when I'm less than 1 year old, so...
Or at least that you would remember.
Or at least that I'd remember, yeah. But I think it was probably one of the first television shows that I started watching, and I think it is partially responsible for my love of TV, and that's why I'm here today. So, I think when I started watching, obviously, I'm going to have to go with Michelle. I think it was cute, and it was adorable, and it gave me a good start, and, I've watched it over the years because it's been in syndication forever. So I think right now I'm probably... That's a tough one. I think I'm kind of like DJ right now. I really appreciated the life lessons, especially as I was watching it as I was getting older. Mm-hmm. I could really relate to DJ. And I think part of it may have helped me and my sister get a little closer. Maybe get some tips from the best big sister on television ever. So, what did you guys love about Full House? Did you hate anything? Give me your opinions here.
I hated, it was a pet peeve of mine, and I don't know why, the whole cut it out. When they did that, I just went, it bothered me. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I loved all the little, like, one-liners and everyone had their thing, but that, with the hands, like, cut it out.
Yeah.
Always bothered me. I don't know why. So that's what I hated.
Okay, I'm with Andrew. I didn't like that either. But it was kind of the era. If I had to pick something I absolutely didn't like, it was some of the cheesy moments as I got a little older. But I also loved it because I was the same age as Stephanie, so I kind of identified with her, and I loved her moments. I don't know, I loved her whole storyline growing up. So, but I'm with Andrew. I didn't really like cut it out.
So you guys weren't the biggest Joey fans, or just that one joke?
It was just that joke for me.
Yeah.
He's okay.
He's just okay.
He's okay.
So did you guys hate Mr. Woodchuck too? I mean,
I loved Mr. Woodchuck.
I loved Mr.
Classic.
Woodchuck. Yeah. I thought he was really funny. And I liked that. I liked Joey just because I thought I was always impressed with how many impressions he did, like Bully
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
Popeye. And I was like, I remember growing up thinking, man, I wish I could do that. I'm horrible at impressions, so I always loved that about his character.
Or him with physical comedy as well, too, because I remember one episode when he was cleaning the car and taking a drink of water. He was spitting out the water.
I think that was in one of the first episodes of the series when DJ runs away to the garage because she doesn't want to share a room with Stephanie.
That's right.
Yeah. So
that's going way back.
I was thinking about that today too. It's like I remember the car was yellow. I haven't seen that episode, and it was like a yellow bug. Yeah. But I don't know. Did any of you ever try to run away from your siblings and want to be in the garage like DJ and?
Well, I don't have any siblings, so. But I mean, I might have maybe if I did. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I grew up with 3 siblings, so there were definitely moments where I wanted, and I shared a room with my little sister, so I could very much relate to Stephanie and DJ and their issues with
each other,
trying to share a room, but I never felt like, I gotta get. I mean, yes, there were times when I needed, my own space, but I would just go somewhere else in the house or something like that, and we didn't have any huge major problems where like Stephanie and DJ did, where they were dividing the room in half.
Stephanie has to climb across the curtain.
Yeah, I could definitely relate to that on that level. So.
I feel like they argued too much for how far apart their ages were. I feel like me and my sister about the same difference, and she was just so much younger than me that we did our own things, I was I was an only child for so long, and then she came along. If anything, I did used to lock her in a room if I was babysitting. I would take the jump rope and put it to her handle to the bathroom handle. So when she would try to open the door, just
I think
shut.
they did that in one of the episodes.
Did they? Probably got it from the show then. Okay.
There you go.
Yeah, but I wouldn't run away. I would just hide her and act like she ran away.
There you go.
I disagree though. Siblings fight like that, and I think that they had that they were in the right to do it even with the age differences. I think it was pretty appropriate.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah.
Andrew just has a unique situation that he didn't do that, but most of us, I know I did with both of my sisters.
Yeah, and I guess I'm thinking too is by the time we were closer to the ages that they were, maybe it would have been a little different, but then I left for college, and so then she became the only child.
Right. I think the aspect of DJ and Stephanie's relationship that I related to the most was there were episodes where Stephanie would take DJ's sweater or borrow, or do little things like that, and she would say, "It's just because I want to be like you, and I want to copy you," and that was so me with my older sister. I can remember growing up, I would go into my sister's bedroom because she had her own room with a lock, which was a luxury. And I would go in her room, and I don't know why, she was a teenager. She was 9 years older than I was, so she was significantly older. And so I would go in her room, and she would have like perfume bottles, and she had a car, and she had a purse, and she had this awesome cool jacket that she used to wear. Like, I just remember looking up to her and like going in her room and like touching her stuff and being like, this is, I want to be like her. This is really cool.
So it's kind of like, when DJ finally got her own room, it's like you're like Stephanie, like creeping in and
yes,
trying to get that teenager experience.
Yes, exactly. It was like, I can't wait to grow up so that I can get my own purse and my own car and, all this cool stuff that my sister had. So, yeah, I definitely related to that aspect of their relationship a lot. Because my older sister and I, we didn't necessarily get along very well when I was growing up. Because, when she was 18, I was only 9. So there was kind of a wider gap. But, as we got older, now, of course, we get along great. But just that, I just remember that hero worship of her, just wanting to be like her and thinking she was just so cool. And she had all these cool friends, and she had a job, and she did all, she got to do all the kind of things that I didn't get to do yet, and I just,
For me, it was interesting because I grew up with 2 older brothers, so that was kind of like my first take of really seeing what it's like to see like a family with sisters, just to see like what relationship was like with that, and especially too like where they didn't have brothers either, so that was really interesting to see how they were growing up without that, where as for me, I was like, well, I have 2 older brothers that are like completely different than me and do all this like boy stuff, where it's like I want to have like sister moments and stuff like that, but I can't have it, so this is like the next best thing for me.
So what about now, as we've all gotten older, maybe not so much Allie, but the rest of us, do you start to identify with like Danny or Joey, Jesse, Becky? Like when you're looking back on it, do you feel like you've kind of progressed from the kids to the adults as far as
definitely
relating?
Definitely. I think for me, my older sister now has 4 kids, so I'm officially Aunt Leslie, and I definitely relate to it more on that level now of like,
do you hear violins when you have those heartfelt
exactly
come in?
I definitely relate to it on that level because I spend a lot of time with them. I like to go to their events and help them with homework and give them advice about stuff. And, my oldest niece has just turned 13, so she's in that.
Yeah, so you're the Aunt Becky now.
I'm the Aunt Becky now, and I love it. So I relate to it a lot on that level, for sure.
Anybody relate to Danny? The queen?
The queen.
You're kind of a queen.
Maybe just a little bit, but.
So what else did you guys love? What stands out to you? What resonates? Like, this is 21 years now that since the season, the original series has ended.
Yeah.
What still sticks with you after all this time?
I know I always loved, which it's kind of like a really small thing, it's not anything significant, but I always loved Stephanie's like dancing. Like, I thought that was so cool.
Yeah, when she was like on the dance team and all that.
She would have like these choreography, like it was so cute to me, and I loved it. And I
Stephanie was definitely the performer. She was on the dance team. Yeah. She had the band, that Girl Talk band. Smash Club that he had for a while. So she was definitely the performer. Ace of Base. I saw the sign. Yeah.
Or when they did the what was it, what do they call those things? The like telethon.
Oh yeah.
And she would do her like total MC Hammer dancing.
Yeah. Yeah, because that would be like when Danny or Becky were the hosts and trying to get you to call in, but then the whole family's working the phone bank. They were always together. They were never apart. What about you, Amie? Anything still stick with you after 21 years?
Yes, all of it. But really kind of what kind of sticks with me and what I really miss from current day sitcoms is it's just like, I don't know how to explain it without being super cheesy, but I guess it's a super cheesy show, so I can do that. But it was just like, it made you feel good. I laughed. I thought it was silly, and I thought, some episodes I was like, okay, that would never happen. But that's with all TV. And I just, it sticks with me because I really enjoyed it, and I really felt that the people who were playing this family really actually cared for each other. Like, I felt you could feel that throughout the series.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they were really close. I mean, they even, until Fuller House was picked up, they would still get together on a regular basis and go somewhere together, like have dinner or hang out at everybody else's house. You could tell that they were a pretty close family on and off the set.
Yeah, for sure.
But that actually might be kind of a good segue when Amie was mentioning certain episodes are sticking with her. What are some of your favorite episodes? Like, if you, I mean, it's like almost 200 to pick from.
Goodness.
Oh. But if you had to pick your favorite episode.
I loved the one with the sweater. It was the blue
sweater?
Yeah.
Yes. It got eaten by the lawnmower, I think, at school.
And they went and shoplifted, and then, they got in trouble. Yeah, I loved that one for some reason.
Mm-hmm. I think one of the ones that stuck with me, and I think it's because when I watched the episode, I was around DJ's age. It never happened to me because it wasn't a situation that I was ever in. But when she went to that, she was in junior high, and she went to that dance, and they thought she had been drinking, but she wasn't. But there were
her date was drinking,
and it was like this whole thing about not being, not drinking and all of that. I remember that just stuck with me, thinking like, oh yes, I should not.
Don't drink underage.
Don't do it. It's something that is very bad for you, obviously, and things like that.
That episode I don't remember.
Yeah, Amie, what about you?
Okay, so one of the episodes that I like, it's an early episode, but for some reason I always think about it, is the episode where Stephanie accidentally cuts Uncle Jesse's hair.
Mullet! That's how he gets rid of his mullet.
Yep. I love that episode.
Oh, that's right.
For me, I love all the episodes where something bad would happen. Like, was it Stephanie, like, reversing Joey's car into the kitchen?
I was thinking about that one, too.
With a horse? Did they have a horse?
The
and
donkey.
They were trying to the donkey.
Yeah, they brought a donkey home.
Yeah.
Yes.
For me, one of my favorite episodes was the one where Michelle enters a race and has to build a car with Aunt Becky.
The downhill derby.
Downhill derby. But then, like, I think one of her friends tells her, oh, well, girls can't build cars and can't do this stuff because they're girls. But then, because this has been kind of popping up on Facebook lately, is the quote from Uncle Jesse from the episode that kind of sits down Michelle and says, don't listen to them, girls can do anything that guys can do, don't let that stop you. And then she ends up, like, beating the little kid Aaron, and it was just like, yes!
Yes.
Yeah, I think I always like the ones where, like, bad things happen too for some reason, which sounds so negative, but it was always interesting because they were such a positive family. Like, everything was always all well and good, and then if you had it, because I remember there was one episode where Stephanie, she was in a car and all of her friends were drinking, and I think it was that girl Gia.
Yes.
Gia.
Yeah, they had been, like, speeding, and I remember DJ had, like, talked to her and said, you can't hang around these people, like, just sort of really, like, influential moments like that, I think were pretty important to me personally.
Yeah. There was another episode, too, that at least, like, one of the ones that I, like, really remember from when I was first watching it, it was when, I think Stephanie starts middle school, and then she befriends a couple of girls that, they're technically in her 8th grade, but they got held back a couple of years, and then she sees them smoking in the bathroom.
Yeah, that's another Gia episode.
Another Gia episode.
Gia was the bad influence on Stephanie.
But I think having Gia in those episodes, too, was a good way for them to, like, talk about some of those topics without it, like, going completely off topic from the cheery, let's hug it out at the end of every episode kind of mentality.
Yeah, they didn't turn it into, like, an after-school special that you'd see. In the movies.
I think if I had to choose one episode to be my all-time favorite, it's probably the episode with Dusty, is his name? Rusty? And someone writes a love letter, and then is by someone else. I think that is probably my favorite episode.
I remember that. Oh, that kid was so... Oh my gosh, the way that kid
obnoxious,
was amazing, I thought.
I think for me, and if you know me personally, this probably comes as no surprise, my favorite episode was the two-parter where they went to Disney World. Because back in the day, on TGIF especially, when you were an ABC family show, you went to Disney World. Rite of passage. And for me, I think the reason I like it so much is that they filmed that episode the week before my family was there. So I missed seeing the film by like a week. I mean, I'm Michelle's age, so like Aladdin had just come out.
I remember Genie in that episode.
And Steve in Full House voiced Aladdin. He still voices him to this day, and so they had kind of the in-jokes where DJ was seeing Steve everywhere dressed as Aladdin, or he was Indiana Jones at one point.
Yes, I remember that.
But it's just, I loved it where, Michelle rubbed the genie lamp and she woke the genie and she got 3 wishes. So she had like the tea party with her family and they got to be in the parade. And I'm like, I want to do that. I know. I want my family to be able to go to Disney and be in the parade.
I know.
I loved the traveling episodes because they went to Hawaii, I think, at one point.
Yeah, on that island.
Yeah, they got stuck on that island.
Yeah, I love the big, like the travel episodes. Yeah, were always fun when you took them out of San Francisco and put them into a new environment.
Yeah, absolutely.
I will say though, like I do love that episode, but when I mentioned what I hated and the cut me out, I hated at the end of that episode with Jesse singing his like sappy ballad. It's like they invite him up to the Magic Castle to sing in front of everyone at Disney.
Whatever he sings, he's singing forever.
And it's like, of course, everything happens to this family, you know. They get to go out and perform with the Beach Boys. They get to, all this stuff that's just like never happened to anyone else. And it was, so I don't like that.
Yeah, the Beach Boys were a recurring figure throughout the series too. Not only was it like the family's favorite musical group, but they appeared a few different times.
A couple times, yeah.
Didn't he actually like perform?
John Stamos
performed.
He still performs with them. He was in their, I think it was their Kokomo video where he's playing the drums. Yeah, in the music video. Yeah, he's basically an honorary Beach Boy. I think.
We've talked about episodes. We've talked about favorite moments. What about favorite characters? We haven't really gotten into who we love. Steve. Why Steve?
He was a very different comic relief when he was brought on, because like when you had Kimmy Gibbler come in too and become a series regular, she was just like, oh, annoying neighbor kid that's like 90s staple at this point. But then you have Steve, who's the boyfriend that's pretty much like living in the fridge the entire time waiting for food. And especially kind of going back too to what I said about not like growing up with brothers or whatever, that was like one of the first like siblings around their age or whatever, first like having a teenage boy in their house or whatever, like having that like completely different mentality than what they were used to with like the girls.
Yeah. I think my favorite character was probably Aunt Becky, just because I thought she was so pretty and I just loved the advice she always gave, and I liked that she was a very good influence on the girls because they didn't have their mom. You know, and they had someone there that they could go to, you know, because there are just some things that girls have to experience with their mom. That you can't do with a dad. And, you know, of course they didn't have that, so I think having her there, I really liked watching her interact with the girls, help them through those kinds of situations. You know, like I said, I'm an aunt myself now, so to be able to influence my nieces and nephews like that is kind of something I aspire to.
I'd say Stephanie was my favorite towards the beginning, like young Stephanie. I mean, she was the scene stealer, you know, she was the star of that show. And as I got older, it would probably be Michelle's friends.
Yes.
Like Teddy, or Taj Mowry, or Denise.
They were so cute.
They became my favorites.
Yes.
Yeah, I think Stephanie, same for me. She just, I don't know, she was spunky and she was funny, and I think I identified with her in some ways. So, yeah, I mean, she was like my favorite character, and I liked Michelle because she was so cute and small. Yeah, I mean, I just liked them all. I don't think I even really had like a very specific one, but I think Stephanie maybe sticks out more in my mind, so, yeah.
I think mine, I've mentioned her a couple times, Stephanie, but that's because I could identify with her the most, and I thought she was funny, especially when she was younger. Uncle Jesse, John Stamos is funny. Yes. He still is, and I always enjoyed his episodes and his scenes. So yeah, those are my two. I liked everybody, but those were my two favorites.
Yeah. No, I kind of agree with you, Amie. I definitely identified more with Stephanie growing up because I do a lot of the artistic things too. But my favorite character was DJ. I'm the oldest. I only have one younger sister, and now I have a younger brother-in-law. But being the older child, it's like, you know, I could kind of relate to what she was going through. But growing up, DJ was the kind of big sister and teenager that I wanted to be.
Right.
And so she was by far my favorite character. I loved her relationship with Steve. Like, I'm a big Team Steve, DJ and Steve forever. I also liked her with Viper, and you know, do you remember Viper?
Yeah.
All right, so, who are you, Team Steve Team Nelson, who was the rich preppy kid. Team
Viper,
who was the bad boy guitarist for Jesse and the Rippers, or whatever his other band name was. So if you had to choose DJ and one guy from the original series, who would it be and why?
Steve.
Yeah.
Steve?
Yeah.
I would say
Unanimously Steve?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Viper's a right now kind of guy.
Yeah.
Steve's
Yeah.
Nelson, just no.
Yeah.
Nelson uses money as a crutch.
Yeah.
I just feel like the chemistry between her and Steve was something that was really special and that she didn't have with the other two guys. And
they just had that first love.
Yeah.
Like, that was the first love you wanted to have growing up.
Yes.
So,
for sure.
So I'm guessing everybody in the series finale, the last moment when Steve shows up to be DJ's senior prom date,
yes,
as all the girls like go for their hearts.
I vividly remember being so upset when they broke up. I was like, what, like
devastated.
Why? Yeah,
Devastated.
It makes sense now that I'm older because I'm like, it doesn't always last, especially when you're a teenager or that kind of thing.
Right.
Coming from a teenager myself, but but yeah, I think when he finally came back, it was like it all came full circle and it would work out. So.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know if you guys saw this, but on Twitter, I think a couple weeks ago or maybe sometime earlier this year when they were filming Fuller House, Candace Cameron Bure, who played DJ, posted a Throwback Thursday picture, and she actually brought Scott, who played Steve, as her senior prom date. For real, like in real life. They went together to her senior prom.
That's cute.
Isn't that cute?
Yes.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's
just
fantastic.
makes my heart happy.
That does. That makes me
they're still
happy.
good friends. I mean, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely.
Since we got to the series finale, want to talk about it a little bit?
I don't know if I'm emotionally ready for that. Yeah, I remember I remember vividly watching the series finale.
Yeah, Michelle. The big storyline is Michelle gets amnesia.
Yep.
She gets thrown from her horse because she was in this big equestrian phase, and she forgets everybody.
Yeah.
She forgets who she is. She forgets her family. They had a cameo where Mary Kate and Ashley were. I think it was only the second time they were on camera together.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of a big deal, too, because they were finally acknowledging that Michelle's played by two different kids. Because it took them a long time to finally acknowledge it. But, yeah, what do you...
Was that the finale?
That was the series
That
finale.
was the series finale.
I just remember it didn't kind of like get abruptly canceled, so that I don't know.
Yeah,
I guess I didn't realize that was the finale.
What happened was, I did a little history research here. I mean, the show was consistently ranked within the top 30, top 25 throughout its history, and ABC canceled the show due to not only higher production costs, because the longer a show is in production, the more expensive it is to make. But they also kind of wanted to capture an edgier demographic. Like, they really wanted, that coveted 18 to 49 graphic is where all the money is made. And so they decided they were going to cancel Full House, even though it was still crazy popular, to replace it with Roseanne. Do you guys remember Roseanne?
Yeah.
That's what replaced Full House.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, and what happened, the fans were not happy. The cast wasn't happy. But there was a network that was brand new, the WB, which is now the CW, was going to try to pick up the show for a ninth season.
Really?
And unfortunately, everybody's favorite Uncle Jesse, John Stamos, wasn't happy that the show wasn't going to be on a major network anymore, and said, no, I'm done. If we're not on a network, I'm not going to do this anymore. And one by one, the other cast members followed because they didn't want to do it without everybody there. So despite it being really popular, they tweaked the season finale to be the series finale.
Yeah.
So knowing that, and knowing what the episode turned out to be, do you guys feel like it had a proper send-off? Or do you think it was just kind of a last minute, we're going to end it?
I guess I never realized that was the series finale.
I'm sorry to break your heart.
It wasn't really a proper send-off. But I probably watched that episode live, because I was by that time with the show.
Yeah,
so.
I remember watching it.
I remember watching it live,
I think I was, 9 at that point?
Yeah.
So...
it truly was. And I just want to point out for kids who are, of today, back in the old days, you didn't have DVRs, you didn't have
You literally had the TV.
You literally had to have TV
Netflix.
Live. You didn't have
TV,
Netflix. You had to have the TV Live, or you had to literally stick the VCR tape in your VCR and hit record. And so it truly was appointment television. I remember that night being like, oh, I'm so sad. It's like ending.
Yeah, it's over.
And I knew it was ending. But yeah, it did feel. I remember at the time thinking, man, that feels a little anticlimactic, a little rushed, a little like, wait, that's it? It's done? Like, I feel like it could have gone on for at least another couple of seasons. But yeah, it did. I don't know. I mean, it
didn't feel right to you.
It didn't feel right. I mean, it was satisfying that Steve came back and and that aspect of it. But yeah, to me, it felt a little hasty and a little like
rushed.
Yeah.
So about the rest of you, do you think it could have gone on for another season or two? Or do you think ending with the night of DJ's senior prom was a good stopping point?
I think it would have been interesting to see her go off to college and that kind of thing, just to see the dynamic of the family once that happened. That's kind of bizarre to hear because Roseanne was also a big part of like what I watched when I was younger, so that's so sad. But I think it was just, I remember watching it because I would always get the seasons for like a birthday or a Christmas or something like that. So I remember getting season 8 and like watching through it, and the finale just seemed bizarre to me, like the storyline, and it just didn't feel right. But then having them all be together in that final scene was sort of satisfying. So I don't know, it's like mixed emotions.
Yeah.
Do you feel like it was like too focused on Michelle? Because we didn't see a ton of Stephanie, because she was off rehearsing Romeo and Juliet with this crush of hers.
Oh, yeah.
She had her first kiss, though.
She had her first kiss, finally.
Yeah.
But do you feel like they kind of glossed over everything to really focus on Michelle? Because Mary-Kate and Ashley were, like, super crazy popular.
Oh,
they were making bank. They were making like $10 million by that point.
I mean,
I still do.
Yeah. I would say they maybe did to some extent for those last 2 episodes. Yeah, definitely.
I guess I still think that was a cop-out, because TGIF didn't end when Full House ended, and they didn't put Roseanne in TGIF.
They didn't. I think the last few seasons it was on the air, I think it ended up like on a Tuesday night slot.
Did?
So it was only in TGIF for like a certain number of their seasons, but I think when they were kind of getting ready to like, we're going to pull the plug on this one, I know they switched it back to like Tuesdays at 8, I think is where it finished.
Do you guys remember back then people actually watched TV on Fridays?
Yeah, you stayed home and you
now
watched
that's
TV
where
on
shows
Fridays.
go to die.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
we're going to put you on Friday night until we move you to Saturday.
I haven't watched the season finale since it aired, or the series finale, but I do remember it. And I did think it focused on Michelle a bit. But you had a question about whether or not we thought it could survive another season. I tend to think that they pulled the plug at the right time, because if the climate in entertainment was changing and the demographic they were trying to capture was a little more edgy, I don't know that it would have been as successful another season, even though I love the show. But I also remember that being kind of a turning point in my interests in television as well. So I think that they made, unfortunately I think that they made the right choice to stop it when they did. And then, to bring on Roseanne, I loved Roseanne, but that's for a different podcast. Not going to go there, but I'm not sure it would be as popular, or if it was, I'm not sure it would have been able to sustain the popularity it did in like the 80s and early 90s.
Yeah, that's a valid point, I think.
Yeah, it's better to cancel something kind of at the height of its popularity than to let it die a slow lingering death.
I think, again, a different podcast, but Breaking Bad, a similar thing. So, that makes sense, I think.
Yeah.
But I think they could have been like, look, we're canceling the show. We will give you a little more money to film one extra show and to make closure. Because I know with series finales, especially shows that have been on for so long, I mean, the series finale is always something that you remember. For, whether you agree with it or disagree, there's always like those moments. And until today, I didn't realize that was the finale.
It really didn't feel like it was closure. You're still like, I need closure.
Yeah.
So, what did you feel about Danny? Essentially, he stayed single pretty much the whole time. I mean, he had that long relationship with Vicky, where they were engaged. Vicky was his co-host on Wake Up San Francisco while Becky was on maternity leave. He proposed to her at Disney, which was the season 6 finale. but they ended up breaking up for career reasons. Do you feel like it was fine to keep Danny essentially a single widower for the majority of the season, or would you have liked him to end up with somebody during the original run?
I feel bad for the guy for having so many failed, for lack of a better word, relationships. I don't think a guy like that would actually end up alone for very long, but he did, unfortunately. I wasn't a huge fan of that, but it also wasn't... This is me thinking retrospectively, because at the time I was watching it, I didn't think about it very much. And then I also think about things like, well, maybe that wasn't really how the storyline went, and it was something, with the contract or the actress or something, like, I don't know. I think in terms of that now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's too bad. I feel bad for that particular character.
I think for me, if he ended up, like, marrying Vicky or finding a wife, like, mid-show, I think it would have changed, like, the whole atmosphere for the show. Because it started off because Danny became a widow and he couldn't take care of his 3 daughters by himself. He needed help. That's how, like,
that was the whole premise of the show.
Yeah. Exactly, and bringing them in, it could have turned into something where it was, like, step by step, where it's, like, about integrating the two families.
Right.
At least, like, just because of marriage. But in this case, it was because, well, it's family, and there was a tragedy, and families there for each other, not because of, like, oh, you guys are married now.
Yeah, I agree. I think it would have changed the entire dynamic of the show. It would have changed the whole... everything about the show, I think. So I think they were smart to keep him single throughout that run. I don't think back then during the original run, I don't think people would have responded kindly to it. Because I think they would have been like, no, this is, we like it this way. This is how we're used to, this is the family.
Yeah, like how it's supposed
to be. I think they would have seen her more, like, kind of like an interloper.
Like changes a bad thing.
Yeah, exactly. For sure. So, yeah, I think it would have been a total change in the show, and it wouldn't have been for the better.
I think for me, it was kind of similar to when AJ and Steve broke up. Like, I remember him and Vicky, the episode, I think it was, they were on, like, a game show, sort of like a love contest thing.
Yeah.
And the end of that was, like, all of the confetti and everything was, like, on the ground, and it was, like, a really sad moment. So, I mean, I remember... Now, again, same thing with DJ and Steve, like, looking back at it, it makes sense, like, it wouldn't have worked out, but at the time, it was, like, so upsetting for me. So,
is there anything else that we haven't touched on that you guys want to talk about Full House? Catchphrases, lack of catchphrases? How they squeeze that many people into one 3-story, 4-story house?
I think there was a person who they, like, mapped out the house, and how they showed it in the actual series, like, it wouldn't have made sense, like, in terms of, like, the construction. Like, it was so bizarre and screwed up. But
Not a house in San Francisco, for sure.
Yeah. I know, they're very shotgun style. They're tall and skinny.
Yes.
So,
Yeah,
that was a lot of people. I think they had, 9 people living in the house at one time.
Yeah.
Once the twins came along.
Yeah, Jesse and Becky living in the attic.
Yep. All right. So, are you guys? I mean, are you still watching it in syndication?
Oh yeah.
You say you are. When you come across it,
Absolutely.
I think it's on like Nick at Night now, which makes me feel really old.
Yeah. It's on. I think they do like 3 or 4 shows in a row, like on a block at night, and it just I don't know. Every time I watch it, it just
Brings you back.
Brings you back. Takes me back. Yeah, absolutely. And I especially like the really early episodes because like I was really young when the show first started, so I didn't see a lot of the first couple seasons. To go back and like watch like the very first episode
on it.
and get absolutely.
I think from the pilot, one of my favorite bits is when they're trying to change Michelle's
Yes! Oh my gosh.
That was very like classic, I feel like.
Yes, it's the best.
Poor guy.
So funny.
Well, it kind of reminds me of the movie 3 Men and a Baby.
Yes.
And it had it's like, what if 3 guys do with the baby if they've never, changed a diaper before? Do you guys still think that the show holds up today?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Is it showing its age at all, or do you think it's still pretty relevant?
I think it's still pretty relevant. I mean, I think in some ways it shows its age, like clothes and that's with any series. But I think it's still very relevant today. I mean, you still have teenagers that drink when they shouldn't. You still have kids that are put in peer pressure situations, and you still have a lot of those situations today that go on. So yeah, I think it's absolutely
today, I think there would be deeper issues and more consequences.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, everything was so, every episode ended, and everything was fixed, and everyone
within a half an hour.
I
think if Full House, not the revival series notwithstanding, I think it would probably be like an hour-long dramedy or almost more of a drama. I don't think it would be a half-hour family sitcom. I don't know.
But it would probably be more like
it'd be more like Modern Family.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Without the laugh track.
Yeah. Do you guys?
But if it were something like Modern Family, then it wouldn't. My interpretation of your question was the show as it is. Mm-hmm. Would it hold up today?
Yeah.
I love the show, and I will always stop to watch it, and I will always have fond memories. But that, I don't think it would hold up as well because of what is on TV now. I think it's like they wanted it to be. It's edgier. It's more sarcastic. It's not as like warm and fuzzy, if you will. Mm-hmm. So I'm not sure that today's TV watchers would necessarily opt for the Full House of old school Full House versus some of the other sitcoms or some of the other shows that are on right now, unfortunately. And I love the show, but if I'm speaking just on Full House from 80s and 90s, I'm not sure it would. The stakes aren't high enough.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there are definitely problems with it. Like, if you look at then and now, obviously, like you had said, that I feel like there would be more diversity and problems that are a little bit more significant and that kind of thing. So, yeah, I mean, I think it would hold up, but it wouldn't be as similar to the rest of the shows as it is. So maybe that would make it special, I don't know, but...
Also with the way, like, kids shows are now, like, if you watch Disney or Nickelodeon, and that's, I guess, the target audience and their parents, it's all really slapstick and over the top and campy now, in a way that Full House wasn't, because it was still real, and they were still real people. I mean, Joey's antics aside, but now it's like, you watch, kids want, they want people falling or getting pie in their face and just, those awful laugh tracks.
Yeah. So do you miss shows like Full House that were filmed in front of a live studio audience?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I hate those fake laugh tracks.
I do too. Well, it's like I think they get those by showing a rough cut of the episode to a live audience and they record it and plunk it in.
Yeah.
But it's not the same as, they're acting in front of a live audience. But yeah, I think it adds something. I think Full House wouldn't be the same if it didn't have the laugh track or the audience reactions built in. It's like, it's the violins we're missing. You would notice that the violins.
But if you watch a show on Disney Channel, there's straight up fake laugh tracks. And that's what I mean that I hate now. I mean, if it's real people, like, honestly laughing at what they thought was funny, but it's not like a stock oohing and eyeing every time someone
that's true.
But that's how kid shows are now.
I think it's very cookie cutter. I don't think that they care. I think it's just like, well, it works, and why bother having this audience here? We'll just tell them where to laugh.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Would you recommend this show to others if for some reason they've never watched an episode of Full House?
Yes.
100%.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Why?
Just nostalgia, I think. Like, like we've talked about, it has good life lessons, and it's funny, and it's cute, and it's all of the above. So, yeah.
I agree, and I think the humor in that show is still, as we said, it's honest. And I think no matter what, I mean, that's why we still watch some, not to compare it to this show, but like, people still laugh at I Love Lucy. And Happy Days and things like that. Like, comedy is still comedy, and being relatable is still being relatable, even if it wouldn't be as popular today. So yeah, I would recommend it. I think it's fun.
I'd recommend it to a kid. I don't think I'd recommend it to an adult.
Yeah, I would recommend it to a 30-something if they haven't seen it.
But like, I would recommend
I Love Lucy to 30-something and they haven't seen it. They've lived under a rock.
Yeah, they've lived under a rock. Yeah. But I think I'm kind of getting to the point now where some of my friends are starting to have kids, and I think since our generation grew up with Full House, I can see it still being popular with our generation's kids, and kind of like Allie, like you've managed.
Yeah.
We're also a very nostalgic generation, so we love things from the 90s and 80s.
Yeah, and we will cover that in our Fuller House panel. So, with that being said, I would like to thank Amie, Andrew, Allie, Leslie, and Jenn for joining me today on this look back at Full House. And thanks again to Kylie for letting me taking over moderating duties once again. And as we said before, next up for this panel, we'll be taking a look at the revival, or the continuation, depending on how you like to look at it, series Fuller House, so be sure to stay tuned for that. As Kylie said too, CPU always has tons of episodes coming down the pike. Be sure to subscribe to the blog at couchpotatoesunite.wordpress.com. Check us out on iTunes, Google Play, YouTube, Stitcher Radio. We're everywhere. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest. I think I covered them all because that's what all the cool kids are doing these days. So, in the famous words of our chief couch potato Kylie, keep watching, keep listening, stay tuned. Bye-bye.